Hej all, välkommen tillbaka. Tack för sist. Hope you're all doing well. So I have an idea for a video. It's going to be two parts because it's probably going to be pretty long. And I don't know if I should do it all in one video. I watch lots of videos that are over an hour long, but I don't know how many people actually enjoy watching for that long. So I figured I would do it in two parts. I'm going to try to keep it to, 20, 25 minutes per part. And I guess I'll find out if you like them or not by if anybody watches it. So I've talked a lot about the Mormon church, leaving it, mission, but what I've never really gotten into any kind of detail, for those of you that aren't LDS, have never been LDS, and don't know much about the Mormon church, I thought it might be cool to kind of go through the process of a mission. What is involved in a Mormon mission? First of all, this is from the perspective of 42 years ago is when I got home. So keep that in mind. Things could have changed, things could have evolved. So that's from that perspective. So I'm not trying to represent the Mormon church today. I'm telling you how it was when I was there. So it's pretty basic. When you you had to be 19 as a guy back then. I believe the women had to be 21 back then, and now I think it's 18 for the guys and 19 for the ladies, but I'm not positive about that. In, let's see, late 1982, they changed them from 2 years to a year and a half. I've said this before, I was not going to go on a mission. I was like, I can't do 2 years. They changed it to a year and a half, and in my mind, as an 18-year-old, that was a huge difference. The younger you are, the more time seems like you remember being a kid and summer vacation seemed like it lasted forever. Now a summer vacation is like, where do they go for summer vacation? That's hilarious. A week off, whatever. But so it was probably, I'm guessing September or October, I sent in what's called your papers. Basically, saying I want to go on a mission, and you had to go get an interview. I think you had to get an interview with the bishop and the stake president, and they had to sign off saying you're worthy to go. That's, obviously I knew lots of guys that were not worthy to go. They just lied and they went. I don't know if it harmed anybody or hurt anything. I was pretty honest, but I wasn't completely honest. There were things I was not going to talk about with some other dude grilling me. So I was a pretty good Mormon kid. I've talked about I drank a little bit. I did a little bit of stuff I shouldn't do. But the church had me pretty scared. And so I was pretty good. So I sent in my papers, and you get your calling. And I remember the envelope. I still have it somewhere. And my parents were with me. Nowadays, people do reveals, and it's a whole production, reading your mission calling. But it was just me, and I think my mom and dad, maybe my brothers were there. I don't remember. But I know my parents were. And I opened it up, and the cover letter was the calling, and it was from what's called the First Presidency. That's the prophet / president of the church, and the 3 counselors? And I can't even remember now. I think there were first, second, and third. I think there were 3 counselors. So I remember for sure Spencer W. Kimball was the president of the church at the time, and his signature was at the bottom, along with the other counselors in the First Presidency. But I read it along, and I just kind of read it as it went, and then I said, you are hereby called to serve in the Norway Oslo mission. And my mom, I can picture it perfectly. My mom just screamed. She was so excited because that's where we're from. My parents, born and raised in Norway, they moved us to Canada when I was a kid. My family goes back in Norway. 1,000+ years. My dad's done the genealogy. It goes way back. So she was so excited. I was excited. I was just hoping they wouldn't call me to, I don't know, no offense to any of these towns, but some, I'm not even gonna name towns because I don't want to offend anybody, but some town in the United States. I didn't want to do that. I was like, if I'm gonna go, send me somewhere cool. Send me to Spain or France or Germany or Norway or Japan or Taiwan. I had a friend that went to Taiwan. I had a friend that went to South Korea. I had a friend that went to Italy. I had a friend that went to Iceland, Sweden. I did have a friend that went to Ohio. And that's a story for another day. So that's the process of getting the calling. Then there's a few months. This would have been, I think, around October of 82. I reported to the MTC somewhere around February 23rd, 24th of 1983, and I was there for 2 months. When you're doing a foreign language mission, you go for 2 months. At least you did it back then. If it was English speaking, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks. I was only supposed to do two or 3 weeks because I already spoke the language. But I stayed the whole 2 months, which was cool. I met some cool guys, made some new friends. And yeah, you spend 2 months in the Missionary Training Center, the MTC, in Provo, Utah. All the missionaries went there back then. I think now they have different facilities all over the world. But again, this is a 43-year-old story. So 2 months there, they teach you the language, but you also, you learn what's called the discussions. I don't remember how many there are. I want to say around 10 or a dozen basic discussions that you present to people, and you do them chronologically. Excuse me. And I don't know if everybody does, but I memorized them all. And they're quite long. You know, each one was, well, when I passed mine off, you had to pass them off showing you knew them. You could cheat a little and read. I had them all memorized, all dozen of them, whatever it was. And I passed them off, I think, in about an hour and a half. So, you know, what is that, 7-8 minutes each? And kind of blows my own mind that I memorized that. I don't think I could do that now, but I did. So you go through that whole, oh, and in the MTC, very strict, at least it was. We had to get up at 6 a.m. every night. We had to go to bed at 9 p.m. every night. Your day was full. 6 a.m., you get up, you know, you shower, you're supposed to read scriptures for a half hour, I think. Then you go to breakfast, go back to your room for a few minutes, get ready for the day, and then you go to classes all day. You go for a lunch break, you go for a dinner break. After dinner, there was, I think there might have been some relaxing time on some days. They have the P day, preparation day, which you have on your mission as well. But we would go to the gym and play basketball and lift weights and stuff like that. And but the days were very full. But I made some really cool friends. We used to walk around the campus. You know, it's a fairly big area. And we would sing songs. Like, I remember singing, "Here she comes, just a walking down the street, singing do-a-diddy-diddy-da," with all these guys who were all like, just had our arms around each other. And it was pretty cool. I believe we got to call home once a week, once every couple weeks. Once you went out on the mission, back then there was no contact with your family other than letters. That was it. I sent cassettes back and forth with my buddies in different countries. You know, we talk on the cassette, send it, they would listen, tape over it, send it back, blah, 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 on and on. But in the MTC, I remember because we sang, you know, the Willie Nelson song, "On the Road Again." We sang "On the Phone Again." And people would line up. I think it was on Sunday night you were allowed to call home. So it was a very strict, regulated environment. There were guys that snuck out here and there. It wasn't like a prison. I mean, you could leave. There were no guards at the door, but you weren't supposed to. If you were living what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to stay there. We did on P Day, which I believe was a Tuesday when I was there. we would get on a bus and go up to the University Mall in Orem, which is still there, by the way, and hang out. Here's a fun little story. So this must have been pretty close to the time when we're getting ready to ship out to Norway, because the guys I was with were speaking decent Norwegian by this point. I mean, not like I was speaking yet. I mean, I was a native Norwegian, but well enough to have some conversations. So we get on the bus, and there's this really cute girl sitting at the front of the bus, this long blonde hair, really pretty girl. And we're talking about her in Norwegian, you know, saying, wow, she's so cute. Oh, wow. If I wasn't on a mission right now, I would go ask her out right now. You know, nothing crude. It was just, I don't think any of us knew how to speak Norwegian in any kind of crude way. I might have known some stuff, but it was very civilized, but just talking about her. And we got to one of the bus stops, and she walked down the steps, and she turned around and she looked at us. I think there were 4 of us, and she says, "Tusen takk," which is thank you very much in Norwegian. She was full on Norwegian. She said some other stuff, I don't remember. She was native Norwegian, and we probably all turned bright red. And but yeah, we would bum the mall for a few hours on P Day. That was kind of your downtime, getting to relax a little bit. And just, you can't just go nonstop, you know, and it was a lot of nonstop. 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., pretty regulated the whole time. Now in the evenings, I remember the classes were more kind of talking about the culture of the country you were going to and the touristy part of it. And I remember seeing, you know, some slideshows and some, I don't know if we saw videos, but some slideshows and pictures of Norway, and just remember, and of course I'd been there. It had been 7 years since I had been there. But the green, and if you're from like Ireland or you've been there, or Scotland or something like that, you understand what I'm talking about. The green is just not the same as, say, Alberta, Canada green. You know, Banff, Alberta, the Rocky Mountains, gorgeous, but it's a different green. And that got us really excited to go. It was like, not everybody that was in the MTC was like raring to go on a mission. A lot of them, including me, had felt pressure to go. And going to Norway helped relieve some of that pressure. It made it so, hey, I'm going back to my home country. At least I've got that going. But that part, talking about the culture, the people, the food, you know, the currency, how to handle yourself in Norway. Norwegians are known for being very conservative, at least back then. And I don't mean politically, I mean conservative people. They don't talk and laugh a lot with people they don't know. And Norway has changed quite a bit over the years, frankly. It's been 15 years since I've been back. I'm going back this summer. I'm expecting it's changed even more. But back then, Norwegians are super friendly, nice people, but they don't just start cutting loose with somebody they don't know. So there's things to know. Like, for instance, I'll get into this more when I talk about the actual being in Norway on the mission part, but I remember at Christmas, we weren't allowed to go knock on doors for, I think, about 10 days, because Christmas is a huge deal in Norway. I mean, it's a big deal here too, but people do not want strangers knocking on their door. Well, people don't want strangers knocking on their door ever, for the most part. I have a big sign by my front door that says, "No soliciting, do not knock or ring doorbell." And I can't even count how many times salesperson knocks on the door, and I just stare at the sign and look at them like, what the hell's wrong with you? Anyway, so you're in there for 2 months. You feel like you kind of know, well, like I said, I knew the language pretty well before, and when I left, I was dang close to a native speaker. Once I was in country for a month or two, nobody would know that I hadn't lived there my whole life. Now, I could still get away with it if I keep the conversation simple. If I have to get into words I don't know, talking about computers or the stock exchange or something, they'd quickly figure out. But if it's basic, just, hi, how you doing? How's your day? Most people wouldn't know that I wasn't living there my whole life. So the day comes, I think it was April 25th, 1983, that we flew to Norway. And the guy that I was paired up with in the Missionary Training Center, the MTC, I remember his name. I'll say his first name. I'm not going to say his whole name. His name was Damon. Tall, skinny guy. I think he was about 6'3", 6'4", but he probably weighed 140 pounds. Nice dude. We were very different people, but nice guy. We traveled to Norway together, and there was a couple of guys that were going to Iceland and a couple to Sweden. So we all went to the Salt Lake International Airport together on a bus or a shuttle. I don't remember the details of that. And then we flew together, I think, to Copenhagen. And then we all split up from there, Iceland, Sweden, Norway. And that's kind of the initial process of how the whole thing goes. This video, I guess, is going to be under 20 minutes. In the next video, I want to talk about the whole process of being on a mission, being a missionary, what it entails. I mean, I've touched on a lot of this stuff several times, but have not gotten into detail. I don't know how much interest there is in it. If you are LDS or you've been on a Mormon mission or you're younger than me or older than me, you can leave your comments of how it was for you. But overall, I would say the experience in the MTC was an overall good one for me. I liked most of the teachers we had. Most of the teachers we had were only a few years older than us, because mostly who teaches is guys and gals that have come back from missions. So they're only like 21, 22, 23 years old. I did have one, she was probably in her 30s, I'm guessing. She was from Norway. I had a bit of a crush on her, but I better not say her name. I have no idea. Like, she was probably 12 or 13 years older than us, maybe more than that. So I'm assuming she's still around, but who knows? So yeah, it was an overall good experience. I made some good friends. Unfortunately, I lost touch with all those people, including there is one teacher. He just went back and served a mission with his wife in what's called a senior couples mission. So he served in Norway, and I believe 80 to 82 or somewhere in there, 79 to 81. And then he went back with his wife just a couple of years ago for a year and a half, I believe. I'm kind of in contact with him. He's on Facebook. I'm on Facebook sometimes, and we, talk a little bit. But that's about the extent of it. Even the people I kind of knew in Norway, other than my family, of course, I lost touch with. But I'll get into that more in the next video. I think I'll leave it there for now. It's been a long freaking day in the sun, and I need to kick back and relax a little. So I'd love to hear your comments, experiences from a non-LDS perspective, an ex-Mormon perspective, a current Mormon perspective. I dig it all. I love reading the comments. So thanks for watching. I will do part 2. I will try to do that. Today is Wednesday, June 17th, I believe. I will try to do part 2 tomorrow, Thursday, June 18th. Almost for sure I won't do it Friday. Friday and Saturday I cut loose a little bit, have a few cold ones. My reward for working, 75 hours a week. So that's how it's going to go, and I appreciate you watching, and part 2 should upload tomorrow night. Have a great night, everybody. Takk for denne gang. Speaking of Norway, vi snakkes igjen snart. Det var kjekt å ha dere her. Håper alt har det bra. Hope you're all having a great night, a great day. I hope things are going well for you. And remember to be nice to people. You don't know what they're going through. So, peace, love.